Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Chris Randone as we get ready for a 6-game NBA slate on Monday. There was like 3 or 4 main slates on Sunday, but they were all relatively small. Hat tip to Fast Eddie Fear for covering for me. He was doing the show. I'm assuming he ended up going solo, but thank you to him. I had family in town. We were trying to do a big family dinner on a Monday, but couldn't get everybody together, so we had to do it on Sunday night. But let's talk about Sunday afternoon, Chris. I left for the restaurant a dominating my early slate on DraftKings. NFL had 166 in my cash game. I had Higbee in the second, or in my main slate. I had Devonte Parker. I didn't have Robert Woods. I ended up getting passed by a lot of people with Robert Woods. 176 on the main slate. Did not cash all of my head-to-heads. Got in all the double-ups, triple-ups, most of the three-mans, etc. But I like to pick some of the more notable names and take them on in head-to-heads just to see how I'm doing, because I know they're more cash game players, some of the other analysts out there in the league. And two of them I beat by less than a quarter of a point. And one of them
Wow.
beat me by a point. So it was kind of interesting seeing how that worked. But they're friends of mine from, obviously I've been at a lot of stops here, but it's always fun. I've just been texting with some of them saying, I got you. Oh, by the way, this guy got me. So
I
it's
love
fun.
that.
But I hear there was a 6-figure payday literally within your grasp. It sounds like you had a Manny Laura experience here. Can you set the stage for our listeners?
Yeah, what a day. Was really big on the Eagles, running it back with Parker. I had so many stacks of them, and then I had Higbee in every single lineup. 2,500 against the worst defense in the league against tight ends. It was a no-brainer and a heavy pass offense. And I was in third place, and it came down to the Chiefs defense. They went absolutely off. But if the Raiders scored on
Now,
the last,
which contest was this in?
this was in the three max $150.
Okay, perfect.
I had two entries, and I was just riding along, creeping up the entire afternoon slate because I had Higbee, Woods, and Josh Jacobs. And so I was just steamrolling. And I got to third, and the two teams in front of me had the Chiefs defense. However, if that defense gave up and surrendered a touchdown, it would put me in first. So there's 2 minutes left. They get the ball down to the red zone. Raiders score. I go absolutely nuts. I'm excited. I'm cheering. 6-figure payout. I have like a few top 50 lineups in the Millie Maker as well. The slant, everything. I'm just dominating. And they don't go for two. And I found it very odd. And so they go ahead and kick the extra point. I got what I needed. However, the Chiefs block the kick and then return it for a touchdown, knocking me back down to third place. And then the slate ends. And I mean, it was a 80, 90K swing. Um, I still haven't processed it yet. I'm happy with the day. It was absolutely incredible. All the tools this week, all the shows this week with Osmo.com, it was just very on point. And yeah, it's just EMAC. I don't know how to explain it, but you said it best. It was in the grip, like in the palm of my hands. And I thought I was going to go to Cheesecake Factory tonight, but that's not happening.
Instead, you're ordering off the value menu.
Postmates.
Or the two, whatever the double Wendy's
Yeah,
deals are, two for
exactly.
$5 or whatever. Those are, yeah,
Exactly.
it's always kind of rough. Yeah, so I end up playing about $1,200 across the various sites on for NFL. I usually play closer to 200 for the other sports per day. So generally it's not a lot, and those are on the bigger days. And if I'm in a hurry, it's more like 100. So my play varies, but I do all the slates, all the formats, all that stuff. So I have I feel that I'm able to spread things out. So I feel a little more comfortable doing that. Plus you have a whole, 4 days to look at everything and all that. And when I went to the restaurant, I was up like $4,000. I still netted $1,000 this weekend. So, I
Amazing.
doubled, and I do a fair amount of cash games and other stuff. So I just try to do enough to offset whatever I put into the GPPs. But you don't play, I mean, you play more than that, but you aren't throwing out tens of thousands of dollars. You play
No.
what typically
I, I
1,500, $2,000.
Yeah, today I had about 2,400 laid out, but I mean, I had what 70 lineups in the Millie Maker, and at
Mhm.
$20 a piece, that adds up.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I had the same amount in the slant for the $9, and then the $3.20 max, the $1.20 max. So I mean, these micro stakes, but I felt very confident, and when I do the 3 max 150,
okay.
or the $100 QB spy single entry. So if I feel my core is good and I feel like I have an advantage against the field based on the Osmo ownership, I'll go ahead and play those stakes. So that's kind of how it turned out today.
Yeah, and this is just more just so people can have kind of perspective on different ways of doing stuff. So I know that Chris plays, probably about double what I do, but he's in an entirely different set of contests and stuff that garners him more upside. It also makes it so he's willing to lose some of that if it doesn't go his way, and just have to recoup it by having 3 nice days throughout the entire NFL season. My way of doing it is just kind of chipping away at it, and every now and then, the stars will align and everything will go well, and I'll win a few $1,000s. But normally, I'm hoping to get like a good day for me would be to clear $500 or $600 off of that, and not have as much risk of ruin, as they
But that
say.
that's a great day. I mean,
Yeah.
those days add up. And so if you can consistently do that, and obviously there's going to be days where we lose. That's just nature of the beast in DFS. But I mean, I don't mind making $500 in a given day. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't mind breaking even.
Yeah.
That is a win for me. So if you're out there and you're breaking even, pat yourself on the back because that's okay. And that's kind of what we shoot for. We either take home the big prize or we at least try to make our money back.
Yeah, and mine is I don't like the top heavy tournaments, but I play I call them leagues, but they're usually between 10 and 500 people are in them. So that's where I focus on my stuff, and I know I'm not going to get the big paydays, but when I have a 1% lineup, I'm first, second, or third. If I have that same 1% lineup, I'm getting 3x, maybe 4x my buy-in if it's the
Yeah.
large field tournaments, and that's just not as exciting for me. So I just kind of go my route. So point being, there's many ways to go about daily fantasy sports: multi-entry, single entry. You like the cash games, you like 3 minutes, triple ups, all that stuff. There are a variety of ways to do that, and we definitely have a bunch of different analysts that have different approaches for this here at Osmo.com. So if you use the promo code EARLYBIRD, you can get 50% off any 1 month package. But we've got a Cyber Monday deal that I want to point out for everybody. So we have our full access premium package. Now for the month, it's like $90. We are, hey, hint, hint, you can use these promo codes more than once. There's more than one promo code. So you can get in there relatively cheap, but, not quite at list price, but we're doing a Cyber Monday one, a 1 week all access package. Everything on Monday is $1. That's it. You want to give
What?
Osimo a tryout? It's $1. So you get all the sports. And by the way, if you sign up on Monday, that gets you through all the way through NFL of next week. You get the Thursday night information. You get the Saturday, probably the Sunday information, and then of course we've got hockey, we've got NBA, we've got our ownership projections, which are, in my opinion, second to none for NBA. They're scary accurate, and you can try all that out 1 week for $1. If you're not doing this, you're crazy. I don't want to hear anybody complaining anymore. But the promo code, you're going to want to write this down: Cyber Monday, all one word. I hope everybody can remember that
Oh
one. So
man, I
there we
love
go.
it. Love it.
But jump on in, give us a try, and it will definitely be worth it. Like I said, you get the lineup builder. That's not the Fantasy Cruncher add-on; it's a lineup builder. But what that does is it's something that Alex uses. Oh, here's the best selling point. So Alex this week will do Monday through Thursday. He will do behind the paywall at 4 o'clock. He'll go for about 45 minutes, and he will do a breakdown of how he is approaching the NBA slate. He builds the teams on the lineup builder, and then shows you what it grades it based upon points, as well as I can't think of the right word, differentiation. So if it's too chalky, you get a bad grade. If you're differentiated enough, you get a good grade. And it's interesting for him to start doing, because even he's like, shoot, I would have thought this would be this, and he walks through his whole stuff, and that has just been absolutely invaluable. You can ask him questions. There's a couple hundred people watching that every day. He doesn't do it on Fridays because he actually is on the deeper dive on for NBA on Fridays. But once NFL's over and Laffy comes back to doing the deep dive on Fridays, I'm sure Alex will go 5 days a week on that. But that's worth $1 in and of itself, just to take a peek at what he's doing. But anyway, let's get back on here. NBA 6 games. Shout out to Yahoo. We'll talk about their pricing and what their offerings are. We're gonna, just for consistency's sake here, utilize the old DK positions, which are not as easy as they once were. It's all multi-position eligibility now, but this will kind of keep us going here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris. We've got nobody on a back-to-back, and you've got point guard, my friend. The world is your oyster.
Oh man. So hold on one second. My DraftKings just refreshed and it said error. So this slate, I kind of like it because there are a few matchups with very high paced teams. We got Phoenix and Charlotte, Golden State, Atlanta, and Indianapolis at Memphis, which all three of those games should hold a lot of possessions, a lot of quick shot attempts, which is what we look for in DFS. We want a lot of opportunities. So looking at the top, Trae Young obviously stands out amongst the rest. I feel like at this price point, you got to lock him in regardless because of this matchup. There's really no defense when it comes to Golden State. They've struggled against point guards this season so far. And Trae Young, I mean, at home, you got to lock him in, man. He's going to shoot a ton of shots. He's going to feed a lot of assists. And there's really no one else in this point guard tier up top that kind of compare to him when it comes to DFS statistics. So I really like Trae Young as a first look. Because after him, I mean, it drops down into the low 8K range, which you have Simmons, Booker, and Brogdon. And of those three, I love Brogdon at Memphis. Another fast-paced game. This suits Brogdon well in games this year. Of fast pace, he usually averages about 40 DK points. Did very well against Charlotte, did very well against Washington in those games. Those are two high-paced teams. So I don't mind Brogdon here. On the road, I like it a lot. And with no Ja Morant out, I think that also benefits him as well.
All right. As everybody's yelling at me, I had apologized. I had the filters incorrect. There are some back-to-backs here. There were so many main slates. I apologize for missing this. Golden State.
Got the Thanksgiving hangover.
Yeah, Golden State, Utah, Memphis, and the Knicks. Those 4 teams are on the back-to-back. Like I said, there was a 3 o'clock slate, a 5 o'clock slate, and a 6 o'clock slate for NBA. And then I went out to dinner with family. So I've lost track of the days. You're right, and it feels like I've been on break for like 6 days now. But
It does.
there we are.
You know, this week was weird with the 3-game NFL slate, and then the NBA slates. We had early games one early game on Friday morning. It was like 9 a.m. on the West Coast, and there was a game already starting. It was very strange. And obviously today, NBA slate was all over the place. I didn't play NBA at all.
Yes, I still did a little bit, but it's because I was writing content, and I feel when I write content, I need to do the slate. So cruising on down to sort of the bargain guys, Dante Di Vincenzo, point guard, small forward, eligibility on DraftKings. He's 4,400. There's a little bit of early savings there for you. I don't mind him. The rest, there will be things that open up for us because it is the NBA. Ja Morant is a key one, so Tyus Jones should be in the mix. Morant is out with back spasms, so he aggravated back spasms, says that he needs a period of short-term offloading to recover from this. He is week to week, so not even day to day. He is week to week. So if I hear someone is week to week, Chris, I suspect they're missing 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not even that. It's still reevaluate. They'll see how he is after a week, and they don't want to give you a specific time because they're unknown of really what's going on as well as far as treatment and rehab and how he's feeling. But of the lower tier point guards, with Draymond Green out tomorrow against Atlanta, I think it's more than okay to fire up Alec Burks, Kai Bowman, both of these guys who see significant time in the backcourt when Draymond is off the floor, so love those two. If I had to pick between the two, I like Alec Burks more because he's just more of an aggressive scorer. But Kai Bowman can turn it on, and if he gets time on the floor, he can showcase that. So he just needs to shoot a little bit better from the field in order for us to really have that confidence in him. But outside of those two guys, you can pivot down to Corey Joseph at 4,900, who isn't the greatest DFS player when it comes to statistics and what we're needing. But at 4,900, he doesn't have to do much to get there.
All right, let's head on over here to shooting guard. Let us take a peek. So we kind of, you mentioned Phoenix and Charlotte. That is going to be definitely a fast game. 225 over under, teams that don't really care about defense and play a little bit quicker. We do have Devin Booker in the mix. The one thing you want to keep in mind is when Ricky Rubio is back and healthy, which he is at this point, he kind of curbs Booker's upside. Booker can still get there if his shot's falling, but he's 8,200, and we are not seeing what we're used to seeing for the last 3 years when they go into tank mode. Zach Lavine is in an interesting spot, sort of feuding with the coach. Apparently the general manager is not really happy with the coach isn't happy with the general manager, and the team president isn't happy with either one of them. Hey, it's a mess in Chicago. But 7,900 there going against Sacramento, who does play a little bit slower. It's still an intriguing spot there for Lavine. And then the one guy I do like, Jeremy Lamb, is he's back, he's healthy, and he has shooting guard, small forward eligibility on DraftKings. That means you can slot him in at shooting guard, small forward, guard, and the utility slot. So you can get him on 5 of the 8 roster spots. So I think that one is helpful for his current price. What are you seeing here at the shooting guard position?
Shooting guard, man. What do you think of Devonte Graham? Because I
have a crush on him because
me too.
He's treated me well, man, so many times.
Dude, I look at him right away and I get super excited just because very aggressive scorer. I love the way his ball handling skills are, and he's going to have a great matchup against Phoenix, where this game, like you said, it's going to be high paced. I could imagine a lot of people gravitating to this game, but Devin Booker's in play. Brogdon, we already spoke about. Lavine, it's interesting. I didn't really hear about that. I'm gonna have to look into that more, but my God, this kid is very talented. Ever since he came back from that injury, and this season, I mean, as the season has gone on so far, he just continues to progress. Very aggressive on both ends of the court, can get it done defensively, and we love that when it comes to fantasy purposes. Also dishes out assists, crashes the boards at 7,900 against Sacramento. Don't mind it. Buddy Hield has some okay defense, but nothing that really scares me. Donovan Mitchell, 7,800. I just feel like he'll get you there 35, 40 fantasy points, but nothing really too crazy. Like, I don't feel like his ceiling is in comparison to maybe like a Lavine or Booker if they both get hot and they just continue to just strike down threes as well. And then our boy Devonte Graham, he's been incredible, man. And at 7,200, with the way that he's playing in the offense, I love it. I think we can go to him here. I don't mind it. I don't think he's too expensive yet. But the only thing is if he continues to just knock down threes as well, you have to love him. And then Jeremy Lamb, I think, is in play. RJ Barrett is someone who he's frustrating at times just because of the way he shoots the ball. And sometimes if it doesn't go in, he also is someone who can get into foul trouble and they take him off. But so far, Tisdale has kind of kept him in late in games as well when they're down big. So we know they're not the best of teams in the New York Knicks. So I don't mind going to Barrett here just because he does play a lot on the court. And if he can catch his shot, things can go down. And obviously, it's something that we need when it comes to the shooting guard position.
All right, we've got a few other guys dinged up here, which could help open things up. Let's see, Josh Richardson dealing with the hamstring, unlikely to play on Monday, not ruled out against Utah. You've got Frankie Ntilikina, who is dealing with a sore back. He is questionable. And then the other guy that could move some minutes around would be DeAndre Bembry. He has a sore hip, questionable, but leaning towards a likely return. And then from the same team, you've got Cam Reddish, who is questionable, but he has been a game time decision. He's played the last couple games, so he's been game time decision with a wrist injury. So Atlanta could give us some some discount guys, or if everybody's healthy, that could really muddy the water and what is a nice matchup for them against Golden State. Moving on to the small forward spot, you've got one of the highest projected guys, Giannis Antetokounmpo, coming in here going against the Knickerbockers. They have actually not played Milwaukee yet this season. Buddy Hield is someone I always am intrigued by. He is 7,100, but feels like he has a realistic shot at the 40 fantasy point plateau against Chicago. By the way, Chicago leading the league in steals. Interesting one there. And then Jabari Parker, former Chicago player for a hot minute, has disappointed the last 2 games, but I do like his matchup with Golden State. As you look at small forward here, does anything jump off the page for you?
Small forward, Giannis, I always get that messed up, but he seems to be someone who it's really hard to figure out, do you want to roster him? Do you not? Is he going to get 80? Is he going to get 45? Against the Knicks on a 6-game slate, I want to see where ownership is tomorrow. I think tomorrow when I look at ownership and see where he's at, it'll give me a better stand on him, because if he's low owned, I think I want him. If he's high owned, I think I want to pivot elsewhere and try to maybe have a more balanced lineup. Ben Simmons, 8,300, had a great last few games. Last game against Indiana, his shot wasn't there, but he had 13 assists. That's what he needs to do, because he can't shoot. And he continues to have these issues of being scared to shoot and looking for these high quality shots low in the paint. But I mean, he's a point guard. Dish the ball off, play defense like you do, because he's a great defender. If he can do that, I don't mind him. Oubre, he's in that game that I think a lot of people are going to go to against that Charlotte matchup. So I love Oubre here. The only thing is he is 7K, and so that can be scary, but he's so streaky. So you're either going to get like a really great game out of him, or you're going to get one of those duds. Point blank, last 4 games, 48, 15, 18, 50, completely polar opposites of the two games. So you can take a risk. I don't mind that. And as we move down, Harrison Barnes, TJ Warren, I don't get it. He was just priced 4,800, and now that he had a great game at 38 points. They jacked him up to 1,400, up to 62. So he's going to have the minutes. I don't mind it. Anyone from these games, I think, should all be in consideration. It coming from the game, I think it was last night. There was a Houston Rockets Atlanta game. For everyone know that it went absolutely bonkers. These are the types of games that, when they're high paced, they have high totals. Try to make sure you get bits and pieces all the way around if you're multi-entering, because there's going to be guys that are going to score in these games. It's just making sure that you have the right correlation.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was for that Houston one, I was messaging Adam. My message said, "Oh my God, there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Westbrook and Harden are still in. I can't, and they're up by 50. I can't believe they're in." And Adam writes back. He says, "Hey, they should leave him in until he sets the record." And I'm like, "What record?" I said I'd take him out. There's an injury risk. I said I think he's coming out because Clemens and Thabo Sefolosha. And he goes, "No, the record for 81 points." And then or 82 points. I'm thinking to myself, "That's not the record." Then he writes back. He goes, "Oh yeah." He says, "Oh, that's not the record." And I said, "Well, that I treat that as the modern one." But 2 funny things. One, Harden stayed in for the whole third quarter. Finished out while we were talking. He finished it out. He got 60 points. Apparently, that was one off his career high. And then they sat him after that. The thing that was funny is I remember watching that Kobe game for whatever reason. I think it was on ESPN or something, and I ended up watching it, or they did a live cut in or whatever it was. But I was still living out in the state of Washington at the time. But I think of that as the quote modern record, because Wilt Chamberlain against the guys he was doing it against, but that was just not fair competition. But I pulled up the top 10 list because I was curious what it was. So that Wilt had 100 points, right?
Yeah, of course.
Familiar with that. Kobe had 81. Okay, Wilt had 78, 73, 73, and 72 in the top 10.
Jeez.
Unbelievable. So Kobe had the 81. David Thompson had 73 last day of the season to get the scoring title. I think it was George Gervin went was either Thompson or Gervin went first, and both teams were feeding each other their stars because they were trying to get him the scoring title. But that's how he got that one. Something similar with David Robinson when he got 71, because that was at the end of the year. It was a late April game there. But the really interesting thing on this is all in 1962. So on November 3rd, Chamberlain had 72. 2 weeks later, on November 16th, he had 73. And then 2 months later, same year, same season, he had 73 again in mid January. That
Wow.
is crazy.
That's insane. That's insane.
Adam's response to the top 10 list was just like, that's ridiculous.
That is just not normal whatsoever.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. All right, but back to our current one. But just showing, as Chris was saying, to get us back on point, when you get these great matchups, some of these good players, obviously we're seeing it with Houston. They don't do it quite as much with Antetokounmpo because they're more disciplined with it. So he'll play 34-36 if it's a close game. He'll play 28-30 if they're rolling, and they've got Middleton back. I mentioned D Vincenzo is playing better. George Hill is having a little bit of a resurgence. He's eating into the Eric Bledsoe minutes, but Hill's been dealing with some nagging injuries, etc. So you just want to be careful. This is against New York. They'll probably have that one handily, but just something to think about there. Did you have anything down here at the low end? I think we could see if Furkan Korkmaz become a little bit of a value if Richardson is out, but I don't think Philly's going to be sitting anyone against Utah like they did against I can't even remember the team they were facing now before their New York game, or it was New York. Never mind for that. But anybody else? Nick Batum at 3,700.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of these low tier 5 guys should be considered. Jay Crowder, Dylan Brooks,
Okay.
Glenn Robinson the third, and DeAndre Hunter, I think, are all in play. Your buddy or your boy DiVincenzo, he's 4,400. So if you're looking for like a little pump play in the low pool, but if you go down a little bit more, guys who are interesting, but I wouldn't consider, as like big plays, but Wesley Matthews, he plays a lot. He just is not efficient as far as a lot of usage. And I mean, you're not going to get much out of him, but he does shoot. And if his shot's knocking, I mean, hey, okay, sometimes he does get 28, 20, 25 fantasy points. He's 4,000. We can consider that. Batum is someone interesting. Enos, who won a lot of people money the other night when he scored 31 points. He only played 22 minutes against the Knicks, but then played 27 against Indiana for 23. And I'll tell you what, Enos, I think, is a way better player than Thibault, if that's his name, because he's just, I don't even know what he's doing on an NBA team. And then Korkmaz, like you mentioned, I think he has the opportunity to just put up more than those two guys. So at 3,800, if he can get those 27 minutes, hey, I mean, I don't mind that at all. Jeff Green, he's a role player. He comes off the bench. He's 3,700, maybe gets you 18, 20 fantasy points. But outside of that, man, I think it's better to stay in that 5K range and above in the small forward position.
All right, on to power forward. You get Domantas Sabonis in an outstanding matchup against Memphis, though he has not really topped 40 fantasy points with much regularity. He has been very, very steady. This is a good matchup for him. I want to see. We don't have projected points because Ja Morant's going to be out, so we shall see in the morning if that's a decent one. Carter Jr. going against Sacramento. They don't really have bigs. He's someone that's been up or down, but he is 6,900. That is someone I want to consider. And then going against him, Rashon Holmes is intriguing. These are kind of off the board plays. The popularity will not be there with them, but their price is not breaking the bank either. Anybody at power forward stand out? Perhaps a Dario Saric, maybe a Jackson, Jaren Jackson Jr., etc.
Love the Sabonis call, AK against Memphis. I mean, who's he going to go up against? Valanciunas, and then also Jaren Jackson Jr., who's like the king of fouls. So I think Sabonis has the opportunity to get to the foul line a lot too with the way that he plays and his style. Randall, I think, is always someone that we can consider. He just seems to continue to put up a lot of shots, crush the boards, and he's an efficient scorer. Just the only thing is we're missing that category of defense, blocks and steals to kind of really get him over the hump, because he'll get you 35 fantasy points, but what we need is that extra kick to really make him worthwhile. Love one guy I love here is Rashon Holmes at home against Chicago. Chicago's very weak against front courts, and Wendell Carter Jr. I've spoke about this before, but he's a mess down low sometimes, and he is still learning how to play down there in this style in the NBA. But Rashon Holmes is someone who has stepped up since Bagley has been hurt, and I don't mind him at 6,500. I think he should definitely be considered in this area. Al Horford, same with him. I mean, he's 6,400. Not going to get like the big time game, but he's consistent at times, and he's someone who should be considered. And then I don't know how to say his name, but Nemanja Bjelica.
Demancha Belizia.
Nemanja Bjelica. Is that right?
B Jelly is what Josh calls him.
Well, listen, B Jelly. I just rostered him in the last slate up against Denver. Dropped 34 fantasy points. Only shot 311 from the field, but he got it done in all different areas. So he's someone where when you look at people, or when you look at players as you start going down and you're trying to figure out, okay, you don't want them to just be scorers. You want them to be able to get crash boards, double opportunities, pass the ball, play defense. B Jelly, he's one of those guys. Harrison Barnes, I think, is always someone you can consider at 6K. So from there up above, I think those guys, if you look at them more deep into tomorrow as we see this as a first look, make sure you look into these guys and really see, can they fit and do they make your lineups optimal?
All right. So we transition over here to the center spot. Got to mention Frank Kaminsky in a Remember Me game, going back to Charlotte for the first time.
Revenge narrative.
It's a revenge. Who knew going to Phoenix would actually be a slightly better chance of making the playoffs?
Oh man,
he
made the playoffs though with Charlotte.
Yeah, but they were never going to go anywhere.
No, they were.
So
they were.
It's not like anyone he got paid. And two, this is an interesting one. Now Phoenix is on a little bit of losing streak. They've lost 3 of their last 10, or pardon me. They're 3-7 in their last 10, lost their last 3, but they're still in the 8th spot in the West. They at one point were 5th, and it was like, wow, that was not expected at all. Let's see, finishing up here, and we'll talk a little bit of FanDuel, a little bit of Yahoo as we get on out of here. Rudy Gobert and Joel Embiid squaring off with each other. Joel is 10,300. He has faced Rudy Gobert once already this season. He dropped 56 DK points. So, of course, he got the double-double bonus with 27 and 16. He also chipped in 3 assists, 2 blocks. The nice thing, he took 5 3-pointers. He knows that you need to draw Gobert away from the hoop, and he was looking to do that. That was kind of interesting. Gobert, in that same matchup, he had 48 on 8 field goal attempts. That's pretty impressive. He was 6 for 8 from the line, but he had a 14-16, 3 steals and a block, and he fouled out. We don't see Gobert foul out all that often, but he fouled out, still had 48 DK points. So worth considering. Gobert's almost averaging a 14 and 14. As we continue down, you've got Myles Turner has been enigmatic, which means all over the place. He is not dropping his shot, and he's rarely getting double-digit shot attempts, but 5,700 going against Memphis is kind of intriguing. What else do you see here as we wrap up our show?
Myles Turner should thrive here. I mean, my God, it's a great matchup for him. But they did play once each other already, 30 minutes, 25 fantasy points at 5,700. It's 5 times, or a little bit less than 5 times. I don't think that's really going to help us. One guy maybe to maybe just keep your eye on, because I think this is a blowout opportunity, could get a lot more time on the floor. Mitchell Robinson, 4,900. If Brook Lopez is out again, he's questionable, but I think Mitchell Robinson will be able to have kind of a field day with no one else outside of Robin Lopez in that front court. So maybe look out for that. And then, I mean, as we go down more, it's kind of ugly, man, at the center position. I think the safe bet will probably be paying up at center. I don't really see too much value yet, and nor do I really like anyone. So I love Embiid. if he can keep it together. He did drop 56 fantasy points last time against Utah. Don't mind the Gobert call. He's pretty cheap, 7,400 for a double-double potential guy and someone who can get you a lot of blocks. Difficult matchup between the two. I mean, these are two big men that go at it, so don't mind that. But yeah, man, center, when you go down there, it's just not something that I really want to entertain.
All right, looking for some value plays here. Point guard, there's a couple on FanDuel at 3,600. You have Dennis Smith Jr., who's 32 on DK, 10 on Yahoo. He played 38 minutes in the last game, 17.7 assists, 2 blocks on his way to 32 fantasy points. Those 38 minutes, well, guess what? In the 2 games prior, he played a combined 36. Hashtag thanks Fizdale. But if Ntilikina is out, maybe we see something different. Adam is always good to ask these questions of. He likes to infuriate himself by trying to figure out the Knicks rotation. Tyus Jones is going to be one of the most popular plays on FanDuel at 4,000 and Yahoo at 10. He is going to be stepping in for Ja Morant. We know that he's a capable NBA level starter in short stints. He did it quite a bit over the last 2 seasons when he was with Minnesota, backing up Jeff Teague when Teague was injured. So those guys are interesting. Let's see, we mentioned Belicia. Robin Lopez is 3,500 on FanDuel. Just saying, if Brook Lopez is out, he used to play for the Knicks, if you're into that sort of thing.
Wow, he's throwing another one out there. Wow, he's going deep in the trenches.
Wow. Those would be the main guys there on the old FanDuel. Yahoo, of course, has a boatload of $10 players. I like to say not all $10 players are created equal, but Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks are both 10. Corey Joseph is 12. Those guys are looking very, very nice at this point. Who else? Cam Johnson going against Charlotte. If at least one person is dinged up, for Phoenix, I think he's interesting at $10. And then Tomas Satoransky is 13. We'll have to see what his health is, but I don't mind going away from him there. Any of those names, anything you want to add to those guys?
I love Tomas. I don't mind that. I actually just tried getting into my Yahoo to sign in, and it says to check my iPhone. And my
God,
in the other room.
I love the security, but it's always at the most inopportune time.
Yeah, I'm like, first off, I didn't even know I signed out, and then now it's like, check your iPhone. I'm like, all right, well, that's great because I'm not able to look at, the tournaments for tomorrow right now. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Fair enough. But reminder, they are the presenting sponsor here, and they have, let's see, what do they have for us on Cyber Monday? They have a $25,000 baller. That is $10 to get in, and let's see, it is 12% management fee. Max entry 85. So they've kind of gone away a little bit from their 150. They still do that for the Baller NFL Sunday, but they're looking at making it somewhat friendly for everyone. They do have CSV upload and edit, and the other thing, and even Alex and Adam, who, they'll play Yahoo for baseball and for NFL. They said they don't like to play over there on for NBA because they have way more in play on the other sites, and it's a third site for them to get to. So they said, and if you go and look, there's not a lot of the what you would call the main mass multi-entry guys there. So there's still some room for you to do just fine, even if you're entering between 1 and 10 lineups. It's not that bad. You can hand build them. You can use the optimizer. I usually like to optimize / hand build when I'm going over there, because they generally don't play more than 4 or 5 lineups when I'm in that contest, just the way I like to do things. But they had a nice one on Friday. It was their Purple Friday special, because purple is the Yahoo color, kind of their Black Friday. They added $25,000 of overlay into their NBA contest, and then it didn't fill. And it was a 25 max. Nolan Kelly, our own Nolan Kelly, editor-in-chief of Osmo, as well as a hockey and NFL contributor. He got 9th in that one for $1,700. He cleared in that tournament $3,000.
Wow,
Shout out to Nolan.
Good for him, man. Shout out to Nolan.
And he says he loves playing hockey over there because it tends to be a little softer, and that's what we've seen. It's more relaxed. There's not always a ton of content for it. and people, their pricing is very unique, so you have an advantage if you're willing to understand their pricing. They've got the late swap, they've got everything that you would want there, and more often than not their contests don't always completely fill, and they run contests with most main lock times, but they're different. Than they don't do a two game turbo. They run
Yeah.
from that same time the turbo does, but then they'll take the next 6 games on the slate and put them in there. So it's always nice. I love it for baseball, but I like it for basketball as well, because you can jump in there, and if you're only entering 1 or 2 lineups, that's usually where they cap out. And if it's already a 12% management fee, and more often than not there's 10% of room in it anyway, so you're getting a better value. So I just like to point that out, for people that don't normally play over there. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
No. I guess great first look. Make sure you're up to date tomorrow with the Osmo projections, the Boomer Bust tool, all the lineups and injuries and news and notes. Make sure you're able to find the values. And yeah, man, always a pleasure. And hope everyone had a beautiful Thanksgiving.
Cyber Monday is the code. All access Osmo for 1 week, just $1. Check it out. With that, gamers, you can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Randone. I am at EMAC DFS, and it is Osmo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.